Munchkins and viewers alike, it's me Munchie and welcome back to a rescue update. Today I am going to focus mainly on my rescue, and for those of you who are new here, hello, this is a vlog discussing about the rescue's journey as I rescue hamsters, gerbils, and mice. So let me just jump into what I want to be talking about today. Because I'm pretty bad about giving updates via YouTube versus places like Instagram where I can upload a story and a photo and I'm done. I'm pretty behind when it comes to updating people on YouTube. So this is a great opportunity for me to mosey down the list of who's been recently at the rescue via intakes, who's been adopted at the rescue, and who has recently passed at the rescue. And this is going to be the 2020 edition thus far, since we're still in the year 2020. I would love to make a recap of 2019, and for those hamsters, gerbils, and mice I took in that I never discussed, and maybe even talk about a 2018 intake that I did that unfortunately I just never got around to talking much about. So in these videos, hopefully it catches you guys, the viewers, up on things that you might want to look more into. And just like I say in all video intakes now of rescues, that every mention should be on Instagram. So even if you don't have Instagram, you can still visit Munchie's Place for Homeless Pets on Instagram on your desktop, so you can see updates there or follow along on Facebook. Only if you are into the rescue's journey, please keep in mind to be respectful on the rescue's page, as it is handled like a business. So I got my handy dandy phone here because I always make sure that I keep a list of intakes now, just so that the rescue can keep track of everybody. Sometimes there might be a hamster, a gerbil, or a mouse that might accidentally be off of the list, but this should be an updated list as of right now, which would be, what are you, 23rd? About to be March 23rd. This is when the video is supposed to go up at least. But anyways, so let's start off in January. So January 12th, we got Ivy and Willow, which you guys have seen here on the channel. So I can actually just breeze on through. You guys should check out their stories because I did announce them, but they were rescued January 12th. And they were indeed a Craigslist rescue. The next one is January 18th, and that was Mama Serendy and her 7 babies. It was the Craigslist Surrender Rescue, where originally they posted on Craigslist and my volunteer reached out to the people to see if they needed help in rehoming their animals. And you guys know how fun that litter has been. Oh, I have updates for you guys, but of course I am talking about all updates here in this video. So the adoptions and the passings at the rescue will be discussed at the end. I did mention that in a video, so that video has already been discussed. So on the 20th was Frida and Freya, which I did discuss in trying to find a pairing for my gerbil. I don't remember the title of that video, but I'll be posting it in the cards up above here. But yes, that was talked about. So pretty much all of the intakes in January have been discussed. So February, there is an intake that I never discussed with you guys, and I hope you will understand that I do have transporters, volunteers, and foster home volunteers at my rescue, where the hamster will go directly to that foster home. So they will not come by me at all. So I might not actually relay information to you guys about these animals in the future, but definitely look for them on Instagram when they become available. But we did happen to have intake. It was a Craigslist rescue intake of a little hamster named Sunny, who she was actually with another male Syrian hamster, and thankfully she was not pregnant and was able to be rehomed. She was actually one of our Portland rehomes, which is really cool. We're kind of having issues right now at the rescue with Portland adoptions. We don't really have any transporters that could help us right now, and we are still thinking of if we want to do Portland adoption, since our main base is here in Washington State. And I don't know where my rescue's direction is going to head, but I do have a volunteer that helps out with Portland rescues and adoptions. So that is where Sunny was currently at. So that was around February 1st to February 4th when we got her. Next we have March, and the March 1st was Gus Gus and Jack. Now these were surrender intakes that we were contacted directly. The person, I believe in this case, was moving to, I think she said Hawaii, and Hawaii doesn't allow gerbils there, but I believe that's what she said, and she was so very grateful that we were able to step in and to take them. Now at the time we were on a waiting list because at the rescue we had nothing but problems with some of the animals here, and they had to stay longer than need be, or they're permanently here forever because of medical conditions. But they were so grateful that we took them in, and so we have 2 new male gerbils here, Gus Gus and Jack. And as of right now, they have 1 inquiry, which is great. But right now our rescue is closed because of the quarantine, but we can work out plan for the future and to see if we can get the animals into the people's care who applied once they are fully approved. But they have been nothing but fun, but oh my gosh, they're such big boys. Oh my lord. And they don't use a wheel at all. So that's kind of sad because I take pleasure in watching gerbils run on wheels, and unfortunately these guys just don't run on wheels. So on March 2nd, we got in a hamster named Sugar. Now, we did not name Sugar. Sugar just came with that name. So yes, we did have 2 Sugars at the rescue very close together, but this Sugar was actually a Portland foster, so we did not directly have contact with this hamster and rename it that way. But this hamster was dropped off at a pet store after 2 sons decided they got very bored with their hamster that most likely was a gift to them, and they dropped him off at the pet store. Now, this hamster was very tame, very chill, and she was such a sweetheart. She was an older sweetheart. I believe she was around a year old when they dropped her off. And the last intake of this entire year was a little girl named Stella. And Stella was a Craigslist rescue, and she went directly into a foster home that we recently started working with. So that's amazing that the rescue is growing, and we are starting to get more volunteers in this area to help us care for these animals. And so Stella is a female Syrian hamster with a long coat, and she's a satin hamster. Oh my gosh, she is so adorable. So the reason why we got Stella was she was listed online as free to a good home, and unfortunately the Craigslist ad made us a little bit skeptical about her living conditions. So we took her in, and we have yet to officially announce her, but she did arrive in a tiny tails cage that she broke out of, and it is just sad to see that people are still buying these tiny tails because the pet store told them to, and PetSmart unfortunately is pushing out their own line. When people have discussed with me about their training videos while still working at PetSmart to hopefully get the good people in the pet stores to educate people correctly, just like I was when I was working at a pet store trying to educate people correctly, especially about hamsters. I was the hamster lady. Unfortunately, PetSmart has been telling its employees they need to push tiny tail sales, and they need to do it or else they get disciplined, at some stores at least is what I've heard. So that is unfortunate, and I keep seeing them pop up everywhere, and I keep hearing the same response from every owner who ever has surrendered a hamster to me who's included a tiny tails cage. They say that the pet store told them this is one of the best cages. So that is where we are at for intakes. Let me talk about passings recently this year. So in January, we did lose Sugar, the gerbil. I did make a video about Sugar and Cinnamon that we recently took in as a surrender, but because the person surrendering did not know that Sugar had an underlying health condition, which her kidneys were failing, and that is what initially took her. As soon as I got her, I knew that there was something wrong. Now with intakes, you might be wondering, maybe the person actually did know, but this person said that they've only had them, I think at the time, for either 2 months to 6 months, just because we recently took in back-to-back pairings of gerbil surrenders that sometimes it gets a little blurry how long people have had them for or what the information was. But I believe they said they had them anywhere between 2 months to 6 months, and they weren't gerbil people, so they didn't know much about the gerbils and what they're supposed to look like and what they're not supposed to look like. But unfortunately, Sugar came to us very lethargic, very big and swollen, and she only got bigger over time, so we had to put her down. The second one, well, technically it's a second and third, but Kenji and Tuxedo I talked about in the Sailor Moon video. They did pass, and they passed within 24 hours of each other. The 2 only male hamsters of that litter intake that we were able to get a hold of, because the past owner definitely did rehome previously those other pups, and or they might have actually just passed away in their care and they just wanted them gone, because maybe it was a tragic moment. We don't know more than that, other than there was other siblings, but because we found out that they have hereditary heart disease, which means it has been passed down genetically, and breeding is the key factor as to why they are slowly falling apart and dying off. Yes, that is awful. That is absolutely awful, and I have an update. Venus, who was adopted, unfortunately went downhill. We have no status about if she went to the vets or not. We were last told that she was going to go and see the vets, but she definitely did have an episode that could have ended poorly, but she bounced back very quickly, which is a good sign. But now we have Pluto. Pluto had been slowly going downhill, and I had to quickly get on heart medication, and she took I want to say 3 days to completely bounce back. So now Pluto and Saturn, the two sisters, are going to be forever foster fails because of their medical conditions. But Mercury and Mars are still doing pretty well, but the vet told us we need to wait for 2 months to see if they can survive, especially if they can pull through without needing the assistance of medication, because maybe they have a little bit better chance at having a better heart and better organs and better blood vessels that are pumping, because these two that I have right now need outside care and support. They cannot do it on their own. So that is why we are still monitoring the last remaining pups to hopefully make sure that they can survive. And then finally, we have really sad news. If you saw on Instagram, it's just one sad news after the other after the other. Chunky Monkey, who was our aggressive dwarf hamster that I introduced at the time of introducing Buttercup, which was another aggressive hamster, and Starfire and Raven, which, oh goodness, I have yet to tell you guys about them and their story. There's just been so many medical issues right here. But Chunky Monkey unfortunately ended up passing away. We brought her into the vets, and then within, I want to say, half an hour, she just ended up passing. And so we performed a necropsy on her to see what it was, and it turns out she had a mass in her lung. The foster home that was caring for her immediately notified us, and so we were able to bring her into the vets. But unfortunately, it's just, there's really not much you can do when you develop something such as a mass deep within your lung. You just can't, especially for small animals, can't really deal with that. At least she was in loving hands at the vets, and at least we were able to give her a life that she probably may not have had if we did not rescue her from that pet store that had contacted us about Buttercup, the other aggressive dwarf hamster, in the first place. But that is what happened. And then I guess I can update you guys about medical emergencies and just kind of include in this video Butters and Rumble, because Butters actually got her space surgery in January and she has fully recovered. She's gained a lot of weight, but she was actually losing a lot of weight when we first got her, and ever since then up to her surgery in January, she was losing weight very quickly because of the mass that was by her kidneys in her ovaries. And once that was removed, she gained her hair back, which was incredible, and she gained her weight back, but I feel like she might be a little bit too overweight, so I'm monitoring her. It's very hard when you have multiple piggies to actually control the weight of one, because she does. She's a little pig herself and she hogs the food, and I can see that dominance. She's the dominant one and Rumble is the submissive one, and so we still have them at the rescue here, and I feel really bad because I love these babies so much, but I just want them to get a good home. We're glad that we're currently in quarantine right now because goodness gracious, we need a break. We really do, but we also want to keep helping at the rescue, but you gotta know when not to burn out. But speaking of being burnt out, we did have Belle, who unfortunately did go through a medical spiral where she did go into this weird trance where she couldn't move. It was almost like she had a stroke or a seizure, and then we took her to the vets and we did x-rays and tests, and nothing was abnormal with her. And when she went to the vets the next day, she was completely healed, which we had her on that previous night on a heating pad, as well as we gave her a little bit of Gerber baby food from the pouch to get sugar in her, and she was completely fine. So we had a medical emergency for her, and she was on antibiotics and inflammation medicine for 14 days, and now it's been a couple days since she's been off of it, and she seems to be doing fine. So we think we will relist her on our Pet Finder account, and we will actually make a medical history note to the people adopting that she did have this scare, but it turns out she's fine and her x-rays showed nothing was wrong, but just to be cautious. And then the next emergency that we keep having was Serenity, Mama Serenity. So when we got her, she was 176 grams. I think I remember recalling 176 or 180. It just kind of dropped a little bit around the time that she had her pups, and we thought that was completely normal. But then she had so much water intake and she was peeing excessively, and she lost 40 grams like that. So we were very freaked out. We brought her in. They said that it looks like she has a UTI. They gave us antibiotics for 21 days, which is a very long course. Usually it's 14 days, but they were like, nope, 21 days. And she gained the weight back, and she was fine with peeing and with drinking. And we thought, okay, this is great. And then about a week after she had stopped with her medication, she just went right back to where she was. So what ended up happening was we went to the vets. We got another set of x-rays and another urine sample, and the sample did show bacteria in the sample that they took at the vets, but they wanted to send it in to get it cultured at the labs to see what grows. And we're like, okay, we'll opt for that just because we know at this point, yes, there's bacteria. Yes, it was obvious in the lab. They think we should send it off. So we sent it off. Results came back and you want to know what it was? Inconclusive. Inconclusive again. So if you guys want to read up on the story, check on Instagram why we are so frustrated. I want to kind of keep moving on with our 2020 intakes, adoptions, and passings here. But yes, it's just been a medically frustrating point and I am really tired. But thank you guys for being here and for understanding how tired rescue can actually be. Sometimes people need to understand that when you have an animal with a life expectancy of about 2, maybe even 3 years, they have complications very quickly. Unlike cats or dogs where it takes a great amount of time to start to see changes. With hamsters, mice, or even gerbils, even though gerbils tend to live a lot longer than hamsters do, you can find stuff go downhill very quickly at the mid-age range. So once they hit adulthood, things can start trickling down. Or if you have a very young animal, anywhere from the first several months to maybe 4, even 5 months old, they can have complications still. And they're still kind of, in my opinion, in the danger zone where they need to go past that one space in order to be okay for like this amount of time and then still kind of go into the danger zone over here at the end of life stage. It's just beginning of life is scary, end of life is scary, middle age, you're doing great, supposedly. But let's talk about adoptions because that's the brighter side of this and that's what I want to end on. So what I have here is my handy dandy files of all of our adoption applications. I'm just going to go and address these animals that got adopted this year and just maybe that will encourage some people to think adoption first and to check out your rescues and shelters in your area. But anyways, let's see. The first one of 2020 was Athena and Artemis the mice. Now I never discussed with you guys Athena and Artemis, but they were a surrender intake and I did make a note of that on Instagram. I shouldn't just say I keep making notes on Instagram. It's just go check out the bloody Instagram if you want to see their story. But yep, they were adopted. So Cinderella got adopted this year, but we do have some sad news about Cinderella. If you guys remember, Cinderella was a litter intake where we took in 3 girls. We were supposed to get 2 boys, but we ended up getting 3 girls because they mixed up the bins of which the Syrian hamsters were separated in. So we got Merida, we got Cinderella, or I called her Cinder for short, and then we also got Aurora. But Cinderella, she unfortunately did end up passing away, and that's the thing where you have accidental litters, and that's what they were. They were an accidental litter from the pet store, and she could have had underlying health issues that we just never saw. But Merida and Aurora are still alive. And no, Cinder did not die in our care. She died in the care of her new home at that time. But like any litters we rehome, now we warn people of their unknown medical history and the possibilities of them not making it to a year old because it's so often. So the next one's Lucy, and Lucy was an intake that we had already previously talked about here. But yes, she did get adopted in January. So Pancake and Waffles were both adopted this year, which was absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad both of the ladies went. Pancake went first and then soon after Waffles went, and I couldn't be happier for them. The next one is Aurora. If I didn't say so, she did get adopted and she is living a wonderful life in Portland. Next is Pippin. If you remember Pippin, Pippin was paired with Mary, and when we were surrendered these animals via a Craigslist surrender where we contacted the surrender saying, hey, do you have anywhere to go? If not, we are welcome to take them in, and they agreed. When we got them, we thought they were both the same, and of course they weren't. So Mary and Pippin were separated, but Pippin got adopted to a wonderful home way up north by the Canadian border and is living a wonderful life with a family. A lot of these have been families, but there has been a lot of single people. For instance, like Rhino. Rhino's dad is amazing. He has his own Instagram account and everything. Rhino had these very gorgeous red eyes and the little fluffiness. Oh, what a fluffy boy he was. It's always a pleasure doing adoptions and meeting these people that adopt the animals that you cared for. But Rhino actually was a Craigslist rescue that a volunteer saw his Craigslist ad, went to get him, and immediately went into a foster home. Now, the next one is Cinnamon. Cinnamon was Sugar's paired gerbil buddy. Cinnamon and Sugar were mother and daughter, but when Sugar ended up passing away, we had to rehome Cinnamon or pair Cinnamon up. So I went ahead and got some gerbils from an adoption program at Petco where I went to go and pick them up. And it turns out somebody saw Cinnamon and said, hey, I recently lost a female gerbil as well. Do you mind if I can adopt her? And it turns out it was the best decision ever. Oh my gosh. So because they both had parents that had passed away, it made the transitioning so much easier, where they actually removed the divider a lot sooner than I would have, but they felt comfortable with the body language that they saw. And oh my gosh, we had one of the cutest cuddle photos ever. And you want to know the best part of this rehome here? And it was fate. It was absolute fate for Cinnamon. Poor Cinnamon that was left alone on this earth after Sugar passed. You want to know who her buddy's name is? Sugar. She went from one sugar to another sugar, and I wanted to cry. Happy tears. Oh my gosh. Oh, I had such a good conversation with that adopter too. I'm like, oh, thank you so freaking much. It makes me so happy because, you know, these animals, you try to do so much for them and you don't always understand them. You don't speak their language. You don't know really about their body language because you are not instinctively that animal with that type of brain power and functioning. And you just hope for the best when it comes to like having an animal that is very social, try to mingle with others. It's kind of like children where you're like, okay, kids, have fun at school. Ooh, I hope nobody bullies you. I hope you're not the bully. Oh my gosh, it's just not knowing what's gonna happen to these animals and then finding out this was like the best pairing decision ever. I'm so glad it was just the perfect timing. Sugar gave her life so that another Sugar was not left alone in this world, and Cinnamon fit Sugar's life perfectly, and they are now together. I mean, oh my gosh, I just love it. Anyways, so the next one that got adopted this year was Venus, and like I had said, Venus is not doing well at all, and last time we talked to them, they said they will take them to a vet's. We haven't heard any updates, but I'm sure that as soon as this video goes out, since I believe the person follows the YouTube account, she will probably update me. Bitsy was Campbell's Russian dwarf hamster. I forgot if this one was a hybrid or not. I want to say yes, and then I want to say no, but no, yes. I think Bitsy was a hybrid or else a dwarf. I don't remember exactly, but she was a direct Portland adoption animal only at the foster home down in Portland. And so we didn't actually get a chance to see her at all, but her mom loves her and we're so happy because they have such a great bond, and we've gotten updates since then about her. So yay, happy days. Bitsy was actually kept together with another hamster that just ended up fighting, and the family that surrendered them directly to us, because this was not a Craigslist rescue, this was a direct surrender. They just got tired of it. They're like, oh my gosh, they're fighting. I am so stressed. Here, can you please take them? And we did. So that was good. Mo actually had to go through surgery. So he was one of the surgery hammies because he had a scent gland abscess that just was not clearing up. So we had to surgically remove it. Yeah, we had to surgically remove some poor dwarf scent gland, and he's functioning 10 times better now. His eyes are almost always open, and he was so happy, and his activity levels were coming back because before he was just always in pain, it seemed. He was always all mad, and he was actually our first territorial hamster. He will swat at you with inside of his enclosure, but pick him up and he's like, oh, where am I going? I'm just gonna start walking around here. Your fingers, they're fine, but if they're in my space, I swat at your face. So he got adopted to a loving couple, and it was just so sweet because this couple was, I want to say, possibly around my age. It's just so nice to see my age range still loving hamsters. They were very sweet people, and I met them in person. Hilda was the next one, and oh my gosh, the family that adopted Hilda were so thankful. They originally wanted to go with Belle, but since Belle, on that day that she was supposed to get adopted, had a medical emergency, their second choice was Hilda, and it turns out Hilda was the best choice. I do believe they changed the name. Oh gosh, what name did they change her to? Oh no, Matilda? No, maybe. I actually like the name Matilda. I really want to rewatch that movie. I should do that later tonight. I have free time now. Yay! Actually, I never have free time. What am I talking about? I don't even have time for myself sometimes, but I am playing Animal Crossing right now. But anyways, Hilda got adopted. So Ivy has since been adopted, and she is living the life. Oh my gosh, she came out of her shell, and she's such a calm and personable hamster, and her new mama loves her, and I love her new mama's hair. Oh my gosh, she had green hair when I met her, and I'm like, I want green hair back! I used to have green hair, for those of you who don't know. Willow was also adopted right after. She was the big gal. Oh! I would have loved to have taken care of her. She was bigger than Ivy, but wow, what a chunky gal. Her mama is very happy, and her mama actually works at a veterinarian hospital, so that's awesome. Woo! And last but not least, Penelope got adopted to a loving mama who didn't quite have hamsters before. She had a bunch of other animals, but she's also a person who helps transport animals, helps out other rescues, and it was fantastic to see her. And oh my gosh, her car's bumper had a bunch of think adoption first, you know, rescue, don't shop, magnets and stickers, and it was just littered with beauty. Oh, I love it. So thank you guys for watching this update. Hit like to show support, comment down below with anything you'd like to say, and subscribe if you're new here and would like to become a part of the Munchkin family and to see future intake updates and rescues and stories from me, and expect some fun videos to come in the future. And thank you so much for supporting the channel in this dark time. And if you'd like to support this channel here, all you have to do is just keep watching these videos. Ads in these videos are meant to help out both myself here at home as well as the rescue. Mainly it goes all towards the rescue, but at this time of unemployment, I am going to have to manage with what I can while I'm currently unemployed during the pandemic. And please guys, take the pandemic seriously. You do not know how many horror stories I have seen about Italy and their hospitals getting overrun with patients that are constantly left and right dying and filling up the hallways. It is horrible. So thank you guys so much for at least keeping your distance, washing your hands, covering your coughs or your sneezes if you can, and to not touch your face. Now, the problem is I always am touching my face or itching my nose. I'm so glad that I have personally already had hand sanitizer here at the rescue, because I am not one of those crazy people that wants to stock up, because I know that's unreasonable and grocery stores are going to be remaining open, so you're not going to have any supplies run out anytime soon. But just guys, please be safe and please play Animal Crossing. It is the best thing ever.